All right. So I went to the Lincoln Reagan Dinner with Congressman Fallon this weekend, and overall it was a pretty good deal. One of the things I found really, really cool was I met a bunch of guys, William Chatfield, a couple other guys, who were pushing for Ibogaine, more Ibogaine use, legalization, research, function with veterans, and it's really, really great to see. The mindset on this is starting to kind of evolve and move through to the point where it might become a real thing. Psychedelics they're powerful tools. And so we have to understand about Ibogaine, ayahuasca, and psilocybin, and all of them, is that they're very powerful tools and they need to be used very appropriately. However, they're fantastic. We've been able to see in research and some of the use, breaking of addiction, 85% of the time, the first time they're used. So imagine this is crazy, but imagine going into a procedure where you're highly addicted to opium, heroin, opioids, oxy, whatever those are all opioids, or cocaine, or whatever, alcohol. And you go through the process, and in a day, you wake up the next morning and you're no longer addicted to the issue. That's what some of these guys are seeing. This is what's happening to people. And according to the research done properly, 85% of the time. So we theoretically have the cure for addiction ready to go. We need to do a little bit more, fine tuning on it. And it is not a super easy process for the person. It is highly life changing. When I did DMT, when I did ayahuasca, it was one of the greatest things I've done, as far as how it affected me and how it affected my life, and how it changed how I think about myself and everything. It was spectacular. And so I would highly recommend doing it, and doing it properly, not just, hey, we're going to go do something for fun. Go through the setting the intention, go through the mind work ahead of time, go through the process properly, understand where things are and who you are and where you're trying to get into and where you're trying to go with it. And it can be spectacularly beneficial. It's also amazing for PTSD and depression. We've seen these things, completely turn around. Right now we've got a bunch of veterans who, we talk about the amount of veteran suicide, and it is ridiculously high. But we're also looking at a generation of people who feel like they are losing their purpose, or they have no purpose, or they're depressed for a number of different reasons. This would be a tool that we really need to start kind of bringing out and having access to, these psychedelics. We've seen psilocybin, for example, like a daily microdose of psilocybin, completely push away anxiety, calm people down, kind of bring the sympathetic nervous system down so they can function, calm down that PTSD, turn that dial from 11 back down to 5. It's been amazing. I've talked to a bunch of veterans who are telling me that, without their daily psilocybin, life is really, really difficult to function. Guys who've seen and been involved in horrible, terrible things, watching their friends die in combat and stuff like that. So, these are tools that we need to recognize the power of and not use willy-nilly, but we need to start using them. We need to figure out, okay, what is the best way to do this? And this is going to be a difficult transition. This is why we need to look at the mindset of this. This is going to be a difficult transition for the medical community, because right now here's your pill, go home, I'm done talking to you. Call up and my nurse will write you a refill on the medicine as long as it's somewhat working. That's not how this stuff works. This is one of those things where you go through, whether you want to call it counseling or preparatory work or whatever you want to do, where you kind of get the person kind of ready for what's going on. And then you go through the process, and then afterwards you decompress afterwards as well. So there's, I don't want to call it talk therapy because it's not Freudian, but there's mindset training before and afterwards that's really beneficial to this. And you kind of have to take a different level of care with your patients than the medical system is used to. But I think if we integrate in the functional medicine guys, we integrate in some of the, some of the Freudian therapists, and we get some more, Adler-based, educated, therapists, I think we can make significant changes. We haven't done a whole lot of anything for our mental health in ever. Like, the best thing we've got right now is SSRIs, and they don't work. If you look at We're like, they helped me. If you look at the difference between placebo function and SSRIs, they're basically the same. So statistically, in research, SSRIs are not that much better than placebos. So, we've got to find something different. We've got to find something for our addiction levels. We've got to find something, else. Like maybe the SSRIs worked for this group of people, but there's a giant amount of people that it didn't work for. And the other problem we get into is if you start looking at all these school shooters, all those guys, they were all on antipsychotic drugs. And so I think we take a step back and look at our antipsychotic drugs that we got right now. I don't think we're on the right path. I don't think we've seen enough like, man, this is making giant strides of really fixing people and getting them back where they need to be. I think that we should be open to more things. And I'm very, very happy to see that, especially in the Republican Party, we're seeing a lot of change in that direction. Now it's going to be slow because change is difficult, but sitting with Congressman Fallon and Congressman Jenkins and talking to them for a while, they are 100% driven by what all you guys say. It is really kind of weird because I was talking to Pat and he's like, I've asked the constituency and this is where they stand on these things, and so that's where I stand on them. And I go, do you agree with that? And he was like, to a degree. He's like, I represent these people and this is what they're telling me they want. And so that's what we're going to fight for. And so the nice thing about that is that, one, that's how the Republic is supposed to be functioning. They're supposed to represent you, not necessarily themselves. But at the same time, what that also tells us is that if we make our voices heard, we can get some things changed. So I would highly recommend that everybody just kind of jump in there and be like, hey, we do want more research on psychedelics. We do want to see more access to these things, because right now the VA is given kind of nothing. And so there's a bunch of servicemen that are like, I would love to try it if you guys will just let us. I think we should let them, because right now we're sending people to Mexico, we're sending people to Peru, we're sending people out of the country. We're sending our service members out of the country to get the health care they need instead of our country allowing our service members to get the health care they need. And so that's one of those things that we really need to start kind of making changes about. And, like they said, William Chatfield, met him. He's really pushing for this, and I'm going to try to get with him this week and try to do some changes, do some things. I talked to one of the guys, Bert Thacker, who's here in Frisco, and he was wanting to push for some of these changes as well. I'm going to meet with Rick Perry for too terribly long about it as well, because it's a big thing, and Rick Perry's he has become a big proponent of it after he met with the Lone Survivor guys. I can't believe I just spaced his name. Anyway, Marcus Luttrell. Marcus Luttrell talked to him about it for a long time, and it worked out really, really well. And so this is the way that we're getting these people to come around, is we're coming down, we're saying, look, this is where we were. This is what happened afterwards. It didn't melt our brains. It refocused us, reforged us, and pointed us back in the right direction. Like, I'll tell you, like, there's been nothing better for my Christian, walk than my journey through ayahuasca. So it is one of those things that it is not evil and terrible and bad. It's not, it's not dangerous and, problematic. It's just a powerful tool. And if we start using them properly, I think we're going to see significant change. We could have a mental health revolution if we started using these things. And it's not because, we're already so great in mental health and this is just the next thing. We're not doing great in mental health. Like, we're doing really, really poorly in mental health right now. And there's a lot of things we can be doing to make positive waves in that. And this is just one of them. So, like, goes back to the whole idea of what we're doing right now isn't working real well. We should kind of figure out kind of what's going on and then be like, what other alternatives do we have? Like, what other things can we add in that might be beneficial that we've been seeing benefit from? Well, if we do more research in things like psychedelics, which is right now Schedule 1, and so we don't do a whole lot of research with it. We move that to Schedule 3, kind of like Trump did with cannabis. All of a sudden, we can start doing all this research and figuring out, these natural products do have phenomenal functional benefit. I think one of the big problems we're going to get into, same thing with stem cells, is that cannabis, stem cells, Ibogaine, and all psychedelics are naturally occurring. And the problem we get into is that if something's naturally occurring, it cannot be patented. And if it cannot be patented, you can't, pharmaceuticalize it. So I think that's the real pushback on a lot of this stuff. I firmly believe that's what it is with stem cells. But that's kind of where we are with these. So, I would start looking that stuff up. I would start talking to your elected officials, city council all the way up, and start telling them that, you want more research into psychedelics and Ibogaine and ayahuasca and psilocybin, and see if we can get some movement on this, because this would be a massive, massive thing. And the movement's already started. All we need now is more the people like us coming out here and talking about it and being like, look, I'm not saying we should have this at 7-Eleven. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is that we should give access to our mental health specialists, our medical, research teams, our psych research teams, our holistic community, our biohacking community, and be like, all right, let's figure this stuff out. Let's figure out how to make it better than, make our mental health better than it is right now. So I'm really excited to see those changes starting to percolate out. So like I said, get on those guys, talk about it online, talk about it here, talk about it, wherever you can, talk about the things that have helped you. Like when I've spoke about ketamine and some things before, I've had veterans come up and tell me how it saved their lives and how it's changed their whole families. So these are really, really, really important topics that we really need to lean on more. So if you guys have any, personal experience with them, drop them in the comments, that type of thing. DM me, and we'll might do some podcasts and stuff, but it's a big deal. So let's see if we can't get some movement on it. You guys have a fantastic day. Thanks for your time.